Good morning, everybody. Today we're here with Lisa from Raytheon. She's been there for, you said almost 15 years, 20 years?
Yes,
So
15.
15. She's been at this company for a very long time. So she's just here to give us some advice, some insight on what she's done here at Raytheon. So if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much. My name is Lisa Laventure-Bernier. I am a resource manager at Raytheon. I've been here about 15 years. I've held a variety of positions while at Raytheon. I was an information assurance manager for special programs for about 50 proprietary programs. I was the deputy cyber lead for the Patriot missile system. And I was also the cyber lead for the lower tier air and missile defense system and a section lead for about 25 people. I started my career a long time ago for the Federal Aviation Administration, and I was also a crisis management watch officer for the Department of Homeland Security after 9/11.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool. Would you mind talking about that a little bit, the Homeland Security?
Sure. It was pretty interesting. I actually started as a GS4 clerk typist at Manchester Air Traffic Control Tower, and then I knew I wanted to work in aviation, and I became an air traffic assistant. And after 9/11, they opened up the civil aviation security specialist position, and I applied for that, and I went down to work in Washington, D.C. And it was really, really interesting. I worked with the National Capital Region, the Secret Service, Federal Air Marshals, doing real-time crisis management for all of aviation across the world.
What were some big things that you did while you were in Homeland Security?
I contributed to the daily intelligence briefings that were presented to the administration. We fielded calls for unruly passengers or in-flight incidents or bomb threats or weapons going through the airport, things like that.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty big deal. Pretty big deal.
It was pretty interesting.
What got you interested in aviation?
I would say my story starts with my father. He retired from the Air Force when I was about 13. So I was raised on Air Force bases, and that just was really interesting and exciting to me. He was a jet engine mechanic for a long time, and then he was a recruiter, and I grew up around it. We grew up going to the air shows, and I just knew that was my calling.
I love that. I love that. I know family plays a big part into, your interests and things like that, but that is pretty cool. How did your career start here at Raytheon?
Well, that was pretty interesting as well. I had just started a position with a smaller defense contractor when I was randomly contacted by a recruiter from Raytheon. I honestly didn't even remember applying for a position. And since I had only been at that job for about 6 months, I felt really guilty even interviewing. But I interviewed and I was offered a position that I knew at the time I could not pass up. So I took the job, and I've been here ever since. It's kind of interesting. And that was as an information system security manager. And that's when I went into the information assurance manager for special programs. I raised my hand because literally nobody else wanted to do that job. And so that's how I got into that.
That's cool. That's cool. And how many different positions have you held within Raytheon?
I think I'm on number 4 in 15 years. I left for a few years and then I came back. And I would say each one has a little bit of a different component. I've worked in the software lab. I've worked in systems. I've worked in security. That's essentially where I grew up since I was there the longest. And I am currently in cyber protection as a resource manager, which is really a unique opportunity. I'm focused on building the people first culture and the environment and the overall employee experience. So I'm involved with recruiting, staffing, hiring, employee engagement, development, training, and retention. And I work with my peers across the entire Raytheon business. So that's pretty exciting and interesting on a regular basis. And some of the initiatives I work on specifically are career development and growth, goal development, training opportunities, as I mentioned, job rotation, onboarding, communicating benefits and connecting people through networking.
Okay. So you spoke about career development. Is there anything that you would like to, say to maybe help some people out there to where they can, level up in their career or find a new one?
I would say I have this conversation on a very regular basis with a lot of people, whether it's active duty military or their spouses. I have people call me to have their spouses talk to me on a regular basis. I encourage people to use their networks and don't lose faith, because it can be very discouraging, whether they are in a current position looking for a new one. I give advice to hiring managers to really just give someone a chance. Um, I've seen a lot of people struggle in finding their way. It's a real challenge, but I do believe that everybody brings something to the table and that everyone has transferable skills, which I think is really important, especially in this job market. So whether it's the technical skills or the soft skills, some people are really good at managing people, for example. Some people hold others accountable, being willing to take the training and coaching and mentoring. For the folks that are more seasoned or have more experience, we really have to engage our younger generation that are just starting out, because they don't have the same experience that we do. We have a lot of people also pivoting into cyber, for example. And there's a lot of training opportunities that we should take advantage of. So I ask people to be open-minded and think outside of the box, and really, truly just be kind and treat people the way that you want to be treated.
Oh, yeah, I can completely agree with that. I mean, kindness goes a long way. And,
Mhm.
being honest and open, I think, does the same as well. So, um, but yeah, do you have anything else that, could help anybody like find a job or, is more eye-opening, maybe on
Um,
resumes or something of that nature?
I would encourage a second set of eyes on resumes. So it's not an easy thing for people to do. Um, so review it, proofread it, edit it again, ask someone else in a similar field to review it. Um, Make sure it flows, because honestly, talent acquisition and hiring managers will look at it for 5 seconds. So if you can't sell yourself in the top 5 seconds in the very beginning of your resume, they're not going to finish looking at it. So you have to be very clear and concise. And it's a challenge even for me. On my own resume, it's a challenge writing about myself, and a lot of people have that same issue. So I do encourage people to do that, and apply to a variety of positions at companies. I encourage people to do that. If they're looking for a job at Raytheon, a lot of the search parameters, um, the jobs that are posted aren't always very clear, or the descriptions don't get into a lot of detail. But if you think you are 75% qualified, I would encourage people to apply, because the worst that can happen is that someone from talent acquisition will call you and they'll refer you to a hiring manager. And what they will also say is that person interviewed really well, maybe not for this position, but for another position, I would recommend them.
Oh, that's awesome. Um, since you've been at Raytheon, has there been like a defining moment or somewhere at some point where you were like, I really was meant to be here, or, something that was very encouraging to you?
That is a great question. I've had a few defining moments in my career overall. I would say some very challenging moments. Dating back to when I was in Washington, D.C., I had one of the very first air marshals, female air marshals, as my boss, and she was really tough. And I've had a couple of other very difficult bosses that challenged me and forced me to do better and be better and work harder. And they had very high expectations. And so I'm sure you've heard, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I do believe in that wholeheartedly. I've also had some really nice managers that I actually aspire to be like, and they were very helpful and supportive. And most recently, with the SkillBridge candidates that I've been working with, just seeing the smiles on their faces and hearing them say thank you and the gratitude that they have has really been honestly a defining moment, because right now I have a very unique opportunity, but realizing that I can help people just gives me so much value that I never knew I had or that I was able to offer. And so I'm really appreciative when I have the ability to help someone and I bring them right to a job rec that I think they're qualified for, and they apply for it and they get an interview and they get the job offer. And it's amazing how I can help people find their own purpose and help them provide for their families. It's just very rewarding.
Oh yeah, I can completely agree. I know I'm skill bridging now too, and I love it here at Seven Eagles. So I can definitely agree with you on that. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
I think I would just like to reiterate that, Raytheon is one of the top 25 companies to work for on LinkedIn. It's a great big company, so there's a lot of opportunities. I encourage people to go into the website and fill out a profile for our veterans, and definitely don't hesitate to reach out to anyone you know. You know what? Those are the people that stand out in my mind. If I have a post and if I'm connected to someone on LinkedIn, I've had a couple people say, I'm interested, and I didn't even know them, but the fact that they had the courage to reach out. And it's worked well, actually. Ironically, I've seen the whole process through, and a couple of folks have gotten hired, and I just love to see that. So thank you so much again for inviting me today. I'm really appreciative of that.
Yeah, of course. I know, Raytheon is, like you said, a very huge company. Um, I was avionics on the F-15s here at Seymour, so I've definitely heard of Raytheon a few times. So, but we appreciate you coming on, sharing your story a little bit, giving some advice. But, I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. You too.
Of course.